This is the infamous 4x6 bandsaw that Harbor Freight sells. They sell a couple of them. This is the red one, the cheaper model. Of course, the higher end one's the green one. I don't know. I think these things sell for like around 250 bucks. It's been a couple of years since I bought this. You can always get the coupons for 20 and 25% off, and then catch them on a sale and get them probably cheaper. I've had this for a couple of years, and this thing has been through World War II. It has cut all kinds of stuff, heavy steel and aluminum. In fact, I was getting ready to pull some maintenance on it and thought I'd shoot this video, and I wanted you to see all of the metal and scrap metal laying around. Of course, I'm not a machinist, so I don't do very straight, clean cuts and clean the equipment up like I should. But this thing is just covered in metal clippings. Now, I do use oil when I'm cutting, and my blades last a long time, but of course that leaves this kind of gooey metal mess that you gotta wipe down and clean up, which I'm going to do today. But there are some pros and cons about this unit, and a lot of guys don't like the stands because they say they're wobbly. I didn't have that problem. The stand seemed okay to me, but it was too short, and that's another complaint. And so just a little bit of modifications there. Welded up a quick stand, and it sits on the I don't know if I used the same wheels or not. I might have. I don't remember. But it still works and functions like it normally did. It's just sitting on kind of a square stand there, and it's using the existing frame. It's stable. It's not going to fall over. But that was pretty much the only mod I've done to this. There's some things I don't like about it, and I haven't seen other people complain about it yet. And maybe it's just mine. Maybe the casting on mine was starting to wear. But this guy has a lot of play inside the slot that it slides in. You can tighten it down, but the problem is if the play is just right. In fact, you can see how off the blade is. And again, me being not a professional, I just offset the cuts. But today I'm going to try to trim this up and clean it up. The rollers are offset, so you can actually pull the blade back and forth inside by adjusting these rollers. I could get this much better, but the things I do, I don't need the precision. There's actually one YouTuber online, and that guy's got his absolutely perfect, and he looks like a machinist. If he's not, he should be one. But the thing is cutting clean. But this guy literally has cut around the clock consistently. I cut all kinds of things with it, and it just has not died. So I'd say if you're looking for a cheap bandsaw and you can deal with keeping it tweaked and tuned and adjusted, it's probably worth its value. It's your typical Chinese knockoffs. They kind of let their molds wear out a little bit. That's why this one's probably sloppier than some of the other ones. But it's definitely a working bandsaw. It's done me a lot of good. I've definitely got my money's worth out of it. And if I were to buy another saw, I might go right back to Harbor Freight and buy this one. Actually, I might buy the upgraded model just as much as I cut. But if you're a regular backyard hobbyist, this is perfect. The motor hasn't given me any trouble at all. It's still on the same belt. The blade that comes with it is just like any other typical blade. It's just a piece of crap. Chuck it, break it, use it, whatever. Buy you some good blades, and this thing will give you some life that's well worth its money. Here's a better shot of the inside. I just wanted to show you the slop in this piece here. And like I said, that's kind of the problem. I can move this probably 1/4 of an inch. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but it's just the slot that it rides in is just way too wide, and so it's very hard to keep the blade centered. You can do it. You just have to tinker with it and play with it. But it's a higher end unit probably wouldn't do that. Or like I said, maybe the castings just was starting to wear and it was on their last molds, or however they do that. This might have been the end of cycle. One thing I wanted to mention was how these adjustments work. If you put your wrench on the back side of this, actually you got to loosen up the nut on top, obviously, and then there's a nut back here, and as you roll this around, it cams and it's offset, so you can move these wheels left to right just by spinning this nut behind the wheel. So that's a good way to move that blade up and down to get it back into adjustment. So I've got this blade pretty adjusted, and you can see that it's pretty parallel to the slot. But what I did is I grabbed a piece of stock and I made the blade not only pretty much perfect horizontally, but I also made sure the pitch was flat as well. And I'm sure if he was a machinist, he'd have some small equipment to measure this, such as little squares and stuff. But that's all I got. I'm sure it's not perfect, but yeah, that's typically what I'm cutting is pretty thick steel like that, and it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm just going to weld it anyhow. Another complaint that everybody has is the auto shut-off switch, and the way that works is basically I have this on here backwards because I don't use it. But as everything kind of comes down, as it starts cutting, when it gets to the bottom of the cut, it's supposed to fall and trip this and shut it off. And it does maybe 8 times out of 10, and I got it adjusted and I got it working pretty well. But the other issue that I was running into is sometimes I was cutting aluminum, and I'd have to take the tension way off this thing, and it almost floats with the tension off because the motor's got such a big counterbalance on it. So I just flipped the thing out of the way, the little device that cuts it off, and I'm usually around it when I'm cutting. I turn it off by hand, so it's not a problem for me. I currently have the speed set to 200 feet per minute. I'll be honest, I normally keep it at 120, but I had a project I was doing that had some pretty thick metal. I speeded it up just to get the cuts out quick, but I do lube with a little bit of WD or basically anything I got laying around. I put a little bit on before I do the cut, and it does seem to help. At least I think it's helping me keep the blades on this thing much longer. A lot of people ask what these adjustments are, or what this particular plate is, and what that does is that changes the pitch on the wheel on the back so that the blade always stays on. I've never made this adjustment. My blades seem to be right from factory, so it's just something I haven't touched. But my understanding is you loosen, I think, maybe the center one, and you screw this in and out, and that changes that pitch so that the blade will stay on. I've just got a thin piece of aluminum in here. I think it's 1/8 angle. I don't know, probably about 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to do a cut on it and just show you how it slices through. You never drop your blade on it, of course. That's it. Cut. Let's take a look at it. And you can see it's a almost perfect straight cut, which is much better what this thing's been doing. I could have let the blade fall down and cut it off. I didn't. I was holding it by the hand with the phone on there, but it actually does a really good clean job for a very cheap, inexpensive bandsaw, and it's been holding up for quite a few years now.